Hello, welcome back to Financial Freedom for the Average Person, and this is Exercise 5. Hope you got something out of Exercise 4, and I hope you took the time to kind of start putting your table together, start thinking about this. This ties in very closely to that, and then we're getting into retirement forecasting and what you need to do to kind of get to the end, get to the point where you have all the freedom that you want. And why now? Why am I talking about it now? It seems, geez, maybe early, very early in your career, or maybe you're mid-career, maybe you're getting a little closer to it. Anyway, the sooner you start thinking about it, the better off you are. We put together our financial plan. If you're going for that $1,000,000 in 30 years, hopefully that's tying into about the time you want to retire. But at the same time, you need to think about how this all comes together. And I talk to so many people that are getting ready to retire that have no idea how to start, how to know they're going to have enough, and they're just lost on it. Um, so it's early. It's important when you're young. It's much more important as you get older and further in your career. So here's my layout on how you put it together. And I've been to a lot of courses in doing this. And the number one thing that people come up with is how much do you need? And that's the number first thing you want to figure out and get onto your spreadsheet. Again, all these spreadsheets and things I'm going to talk about during the entire course are living documents. You'll end up with 3 or 4 spreadsheets, and if you take the time to put them together and you come back to them once a month, or so, and just make some adjustments and look at what's going on, you'll find out where you're going. In all likelihood, you're going to be going toward your goal, and that's what I'm hoping you do. Anyway, big question: how much do you need when you retire? So the approach I used was I took a look at what we were doing. It isn't so much as what you're getting paid. It's really what you're bringing home, and then what are you spending? And I found out that our budget was always pretty tight, and I had different ways, different pots and things, and to get vacations in and get the things that I wanted. Like you see, like car, I've got a plan for that. I got a pot for that. I got a pot for something else, new house or something. I strategize all this. But what I did is you take a look at, again, I start with that take home pay, and I think, well, what am I going to do in retirement? Well, there's a lot of things that are going to fall off in retirement, but there's other things that I'm going to need to add in retirement. And, travel, extra additional expenses, if you're going to get another house or something, you want to have some float. So anyway, again, I'm looking at what I'm spending, the take home pay. Then I increase that by a quarter, basically covering the taxes, and then make it on an annual basis. Then I take out of there, okay, if I'm not gonna, I've got my done with my 30-year plan, so I need to be throwing more money into investments, so I can pull that out, and I can pull maybe some other things. And like I said, I add in things for travel, and anyway, I end up with a number, and everyone's numbers can be a little bit different, but one of the mistakes people make is like, okay, I make $100,000, on an annual basis. That's what I need going into retirement. That's probably not what you need. You probably need less than that. So uh, you can take a look and you can sort it out. But that's your first step. What are you going to need going forward? Next, how much you got? All right. So you need to look at your income for the different years from your different sources. So Social Security, you can go socialsecurity.gov. Great website. It'll tell you how much you put in, what your estimate's going to be when you take it, what it's going to give you. And why that's important is, again, in the planning, you can take it at age 62, you can take it at age 67, you can take it at age 70. You don't want to take it past 70. You don't get any bonuses after that. And I'll talk more about Social Security later in the course. If you have a defined pension, congratulations. That's like winning the lottery. There's very few of them out there. Typically government jobs and things like that. Those are if you look into one of those, grab it. Other things, retirement accounts, 401, IRA, TSP is a government account. Uh, Most advisors recommend 4% taking it out. My case, I decided to use 5%. And what they do, 4% index for inflation. I started using 5% when I started pulling mine, and then I took control over it and I went into dividend bearing stocks, and then I got dividend stocks that paid more than that, and that's the money that we use for coming off that. Then you're going to have some investment proceeds. Hopefully, you've got that $1,000,000. You got that set aside and it's doing something. And then, are you going to work when you're in retirement? If you do plan on work, estimate how many years, how much you make. And then anything else that you may have. You may downsize your house. If you're out in California and you got $1.5 million house, and you're going to move to Florida and get a $500,000 house, which will be bigger, you got $1,000,000 there. So there's another option for you, or opportunity for you. So lots of things. But again, figure out what your income is, and then figure it out on an annual basis. Next slide here. Then it's really simple. Subtract your needs from your income. If you do it in a spreadsheet format and you project it on an annual basis, it becomes easy to adjust things as the situation changes. And when your income is comfortably above your needs, you should be able to retire and maintain your lifestyle. Always remember, however, nothing's guaranteed. Just an estimate and getting you started in the right direction. Now let's you take a look at mine. And so this is a snapshot from, actually this was, I did this one in 2012. I have these for every year. And across the top, you can see in my case, the age is there. So when I was, 56, 54, 55, 56, going across. And then I listed down here everywhere where there would be an opportunity to get some finances in. And you can see, Social Security, my TSP, different things. I was a reservist as well in the military, so I have some military income. And when I'm down here, I didn't put any income. I was looking. If you look down toward the end, you will see a point where you see a negative number. And when you see down in this area, you see some of the different the numbers, how much I'm short. Now, in my case, I opted to retire when I was 54, and from my full-time job, and I stayed in the reserves. So my delta was in the 30-some thousand I need to make a year, and I figured, well, I didn't count my investments. I figured, okay, if I work in the reserves, I do well on my investments, that can make that 30-some thousand gap. Now, if you go out, if you look, further on, I only had 4 or 5 years before I became net positive with what I had coming in. Basically, once Social Security kicked in at 62, at that point I was going to be positive. So I had, a few years. Actually, I think my real target was 60. That's when the military retirement kicked in, and that military retirement, was more. I was making more than the 30-some thousand at that point, so it put us well into the positive world. Anyway, turned out I retired easily at 54. I probably could have retired 4 or 5 years earlier easily, but that's how it worked out. But the main message I want to leave here, and looking at this, and you can blow this up, at home, make your screen bigger so you can kind of see the numbers. But you lay out a strategy. I've been doing this for 20 years, looking out. Okay, where am I at? Well, what's the gaps? Not reachable early on. Later on, it becomes very reachable. But if you do that, you put this again, you get this in your files. You get this in your, you're making this a habit, of looking at the future, looking where you're going, and making it happen. And you can do it and get there. So hopefully that helps.